The streets are on fire with this one. For years, CHRISSY LAMPKIN's name has been tied to Jim Jones, their roller coaster love story, and their constant on and off battles. But now, a bombshell has dropped that nobody saw coming. Camron, Jim's longtime friend turned rival, is being accused of fathering CHRISSY's child. And if that wasn't shocking enough, a leaked DNA test is now circulating online, allegedly proving everything fans whispered about in the shadows. Betrayal, friendship destroyed, and family lines blurred. This is more than just gossip. This is a scandal that could shatter everything we thought we knew about the Dipset world. The hip-hop world has always thrived on drama, but this time, the scandal isn't about music, it's about betrayal. When whispers first began spreading that Camron and CHRISSY LAMPKIN had a secret history, fans brushed it off as just another rumor. After all, CHRISSY has been tied to Jim Jones for decades, and their love story, messy as it may be, was well documented on Love and Hip Hop, New York. But recently, the whispers turned into screams when receipts surfaced suggesting that Camron may have fathered a child with CHRISSY. And then, like gasoline on an already burning fire, a leaked DNA test hit the internet, allegedly confirming the shocking claims. It all began with a blurry screenshot that first appeared on a gossip blog. The photo showed what looked like an official DNA results page, with Camron's name, CHRISSY's name, and the word 99.9% match. At first, people didn't want to believe it. The idea of Camron, Jim's brother-in-arms from the Dipset days, being entangled with CHRISSY was almost unthinkable. Their history as friends and collaborators went back decades, and even though Cam and Jim have had their fallouts, few could have predicted something this explosive. Within minutes of the leak, social media was in complete chaos. Hashtags like #Cam and CHRISSY, #DNA confirmed, and #Jim Jones began trending. Fans were tagging Jim Jones on Instagram, demanding a response. Memes flooded Twitter, with some mocking Jim for being blindsided and others painting Cam as the ultimate betrayer. For a community that thrives on mess, this was the kind of story people lived for, and it spread like wildfire. But the drama didn't stop there. As fans dug deeper, more alleged receipts began to surface. Old photos of CHRISSY and Cam at parties, moments that once looked like harmless fun, suddenly took on a new meaning. Bloggers began piecing together timelines, pointing out times when CHRISSY and Cam were spotted together without Jim. Even throwback interviews where Camron playfully mentioned family business were being re-examined under a new, scandalous light. And then came the real shocker, insiders claiming this wasn't new information at all. According to some sources close to the situation, Jim Jones had allegedly heard rumors about CHRISSY and Cam years ago but chose to ignore them. Whether out of denial or loyalty, Jim reportedly brushed off the whispers, believing that his fiancée would never cross that line with someone so close to him. But now, with DNA results circulating, it looks like the truth may have finally caught up with him. The betrayal stings even more when you look at the history between Jim and Cam. These two weren't just friends, they were family. They built Dipset together, rode the highs and lows of the music industry side by side, and weathered beefs with outsiders. Their brotherhood was legendary, even if they had their rocky moments. For Cam to allegedly step into Jim's personal life in this way isn't just messy, it's catastrophic. It threatens to erase decades of loyalty and respect with one devastating blow. As the scandal grew, fans began taking sides. Some blamed Cam for betraying his friend, calling him disloyal and heartless. Others blamed CHRISSY, pointing out that she had been with Jim for years and should have never entertained his friend under any circumstances. And then there were those who turned the blame back on Jim himself, saying he'd been dragging his feet on marrying CHRISSY for so long that she sought validation elsewhere. The debate raged on, but the common thread was clear: nobody came out of this looking clean. The DNA test itself became a central point of discussion. Was it real? Could it have been doctored? While some fans argued that the document looked authentic, others insisted that in the age of Photoshop, anything could be faked. But the fact that multiple blogs claimed to have seen the same results gave the story weight. Add to that the silence from Cam, CHRISSY, and Jim in the early days, and the internet had all the confirmation it needed. In scandals like these, silence often speaks louder than words, and let's not ignore the impact this revelation has on CHRISSY's image. For years, she's been portrayed as the strong, outspoken partner who stood by Jim through thick and thin. Fans have watched her demand respect, fight for her relationship, and push Jim toward commitment. To now see her at the center of a cheating scandal with Jim's closest ally flips that entire narrative on its head. Was CHRISSY really as loyal as she claimed? Or has she been playing a dangerous game all along? Behind the scenes, insiders claim Jim was blindsided. He allegedly found out about the DNA leak the same way the rest of us did, through the blogs. Imagine the shock of waking up, checking your phone, and seeing headlines accusing your best friend of fathering a child with your fiancé. For Jim, this isn't just personal betrayal, it's public humiliation. His name is now tied to a scandal that will haunt him for the rest of his career. As fans dig deeper, some are beginning to wonder if this was all intentional. Could someone close to the situation have leaked the DNA test to expose Chrissy and Cam? Was it an enemy trying to tear down Jim's empire? Or was this simply a secret that got too heavy to keep hidden? The theories are endless, but one thing's for certain: the truth has shaken the very foundation of these relationships. Part 1 of this unfolding drama shows us just how fragile trust and loyalty can be in the world of fame and friendship. If the DNA test is indeed real, it confirms not only a betrayal but also a permanent link between Camron and Chrissy that Jim can never erase. This isn't just a fling or a rumor, it's a child, a life, and undeniable proof that the unthinkable has already happened. And as the internet continues to dissect every detail, the question remains: how will Jim Jones respond? Will he confront Cam directly? Will Chrissy finally break her silence? Or will this scandal explode into something even bigger than anyone could have imagined? The fallout from the shocking revelation was unlike anything the love and hip-hop world had ever seen. When whispers turned into receipts, and the receipts turned into undeniable proof, the streets couldn't stop talking. Camron allegedly fathering a child with Chrissy Lampkin wasn't just a tabloid headline, it was a full-blown cultural earthquake that threatened to collapse everything Chrissy and Jim Jones had built over 2 decades. At first, people thought it was just another rumor. After all, Chrissy and Camron had been in the same circles for years. Harlem ties run deep, and their connection went back before Jim even knew Chrissy. But when the DNA test surfaced, bold, stamped, and screaming the truth, the conversation shifted instantly. No longer was it speculation. The paperwork confirmed that Camron was indeed the father. Fans swarmed social media with outrage, memes, and disbelief. Some people sided with Cam, saying he had always been too slick with his words and playful shade toward Jim and Chrissy. Others claimed Chrissy had been careless, putting herself in a position where the truth would eventually explode. But one thing was certain: Jim Jones was furious. Jim didn't just see this as betrayal, he saw it as humiliation. Chrissy, the woman he had defended, loved, and stuck beside through countless public battles, was now caught in the middle of the ugliest scandal Harlem had ever seen. And it wasn't just anybody, this was Camron, Jim's closest ally turned bitter rival, the same man he once shared stages, money, and loyalty with. In private, sources say Jim erupted the moment he laid eyes on the DNA paperwork. He allegedly tore it up and shouted that the whole thing was fabricated, a setup to tarnish his legacy. But when multiple outlets got their hands on the same documents, the denial couldn't last. Jim had no choice but to face reality, and Chrissy, behind closed doors, their confrontation was volcanic. Chrissy reportedly broke down in tears, insisting it wasn't what it looked like, trying to explain away her connection with Cam. But Jim wasn't trying to hear it. He allegedly accused her of years of deception, of making him look like a fool in front of the entire culture. His anger wasn't just about the betrayal, it was about timing. After everything they had been through, engagements, public fights, cancelled weddings, this scandal was the final straw. Meanwhile, Camron stayed unusually quiet. For a man who thrived on trolling, poking fun, and stirring up chaos, his silence was telling. Insiders believe his lawyers warned him to keep his mouth shut. Still, his absence from the spotlight only fueled more speculation. Was Camron ashamed? Was he plotting a bigger reveal? Or was he simply letting the scandal build momentum before stepping back in with his signature smirk? Chrissy, on the other hand, couldn't escape the firestorm. Everywhere she went, cameras followed, fans whispered, and blogs posted non-stop updates. Once admired for her ride-or-die loyalty to Jim, Chrissy was now painted as the mastermind behind one of the biggest betrayals in hip-hop relationship history. Her image as Harlem's first lady crumbled overnight, but here's where it got even messier. Whispers began circulating that this wasn't a one-time slip-up. Some insiders alleged that Chrissy and Cam had been entangled for months, maybe even years, behind Jim's back. The timeline didn't just point to an accident, it suggested a secret relationship. Whether true or not, the rumors only fueled Jim's rage. To him, it wasn't just betrayal, it was years of lies. Right under his nose, the love and hip-hop cameras were quick to catch wind of the situation. Producers allegedly scrambled to shift storylines, eager to capture the chaos on screen. Fans knew that if this storyline aired, it would break ratings records. But Jim reportedly threatened to walk off the show entirely, furious that his real-life pain was being turned into entertainment. As Harlem buzzed, alliances started to shift. Old friends who had stayed neutral between Jim and Cam suddenly chose sides. Some of Cam's people defended him, saying Chrissy had been the one pursuing him, while others argued Cam should have known better than to mess with Jim's longtime partner. For Jim, it was the ultimate betrayal, not just by Chrissy but by Cam, his day one, his brother turned enemy, and then came the most shocking part: Jim's family allegedly stepped in. Word spread that his mother, Nancy Mama Jones, exploded at Chrissy, calling her every name under the sun. Mama Jones had never been shy about her feelings toward Chrissy, and this scandal gave her all the ammo she needed. Insiders claimed the two had a screaming match so loud neighbors heard every word. Mama Jones allegedly told Jim to leave Chrissy for good, warning him that her betrayal would only get worse with time. But Jim wasn't just battling Chrissy and Cam, he was battling himself. Sources close to the couple said Jim was torn between his love for Chrissy and the public humiliation that came with staying. On one hand, this was the woman he had invested nearly 20 years of his life in. On the other hand, the DNA results made it impossible to deny the reality staring him in the face. As the dust settled, the streets started asking the big question: what happens next? Would Jim finally cut ties with Chrissy once and for all? Would Camron step forward and take responsibility publicly? Or would this triangle spin even further out of control, dragging Harlem's biggest names into a scandal that wouldn't die? But the story didn't stop there. New reports began hinting at an explosive twist: that Camron wasn't the only one with secrets. That DNA test might have confirmed his connection to Chrissy, but what about other men tied to her past? Was there more to the story than even the paperwork revealed? The deeper you look, the more it becomes clear, this wasn't just a scandal. It was a war, one that put loyalty, love, and legacy on the line. Harlem had seen beef before, but nothing like this. Nothing that cut this deep. Nothing that would force three legends, Jim, Chrissy, and Cam, to face the truth in front of the world. And if the rumors about more revelations were true, then this was only the beginning. The DNA test might have confirmed one secret, but it opened the door to 1,000 more. The courtroom was silent, except for the faint tapping of heels against the tiled floor. Jim Jones sat at the front, arms folded, eyes burning with a mixture of rage and disbelief. Chrissy sat 2 seats away, her hands trembling as she clutched her purse, refusing to make eye contact with anyone. Camron leaned back, calm as ever, his smirk suggesting that he had been expecting this moment all along. The DNA test results weren't just numbers on a paper, they were a bombshell that had shattered years of relationships, loyalty, and the image of one of hip-hop's most talked-about couples. The judge cleared his throat, reading the results again, slowly, as though emphasizing every word. The alleged father, Cameron Giles, known as Camron, cannot be excluded as the biological father of the child. Gasps spread across the room like wildfire. Cameras clicked, reporters scribbled notes, and fans waiting outside erupted into chaos as the news broke live. Jim's fists clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white. His jaw tightened as he whispered through gritted teeth, "She played me, all these years." Chrissy tried to defend herself, speaking up in a shaky voice, "It wasn't like that. Jim, you don't understand. I never wanted it to go this far." But her words fell flat. The DNA paper had already confirmed everything. Her secret with Camron wasn't just rumors anymore, it was reality. For years, people had whispered about Chrissy's loyalty, her entanglements, and her questionable choices, but Jim had always stood by her. He had fought friends, lost business opportunities, and even turned his back on dipset alliances to prove his devotion. And now, in one moment, all that sacrifice seemed like a cruel joke. Camron, never one to stay quiet in drama, leaned forward and added fuel to the fire. "Listen, man," he said coolly, "you've been playing house with somebody who ain't been loyal from the start." I didn't even have to say a word, the truth came out on its own. His words were surgical, designed to cut deep. Jim shot up from his chair, ready to lunge at Cam, but security and court officers rushed forward, holding him back before the situation exploded. The crowd outside roared louder as word spread through social media. Clips of Jim being restrained circulated instantly, with hashtags like #ChryssyDNA, #CamronBabyScandal, and #DipsetDrama trending worldwide. Meanwhile, Chrissy broke down in tears, covering her face as the cameras zoomed in. She had always prided herself on holding her ground, but this was different. This wasn't reality TV where she could spin the narrative or storm off camera. This was real life, and the evidence was undeniable. As reporters pressed for comments, Jim stormed out of the courtroom, ignoring every question. "Don't talk to me. Don't ask me nothin'," he yelled, slamming the door behind him. His entourage followed, some looking worried, others shaking their heads in disbelief. Outside, fans swarmed him, shouting questions. "Jim, are you done with Chrissy? What about the wedding plans? Are you gonna confront Cam?" But Jim kept walking, his face unreadable, his heart torn between rage and heartbreak. Inside, Chrissy sat frozen. She knew what this meant. Her years of fighting for Jim's love, pressuring him into marriage, and building their public image had gone up in flames. The man she claimed to love had just watched her betray him in the worst possible way. With his own friend back at his hotel, Jim locked himself away. Those close to him said he paced the room for hours, replaying every moment with Chrissy. Every argument, every time she begged him for commitment, every time he defended her against rumors. And now, the truth stared him in the face. She hadn't just betrayed his trust, she had humiliated him in front of the world. Camron, however, played the scandal to his advantage. Hours later, he went live on Instagram, pouring himself a drink and addressing the situation head-on. "Y'all acting like I'm the bad guy," he said casually. "But the DNA doesn't lie. I ain't snitch, I ain't expose, shorty just couldn't keep the truth buried forever." His followers ate it up, flooding the comments with laughing emojis, memes, and endless debates. Some sided with Cam, saying Jim should have known better. Others defended Jim, calling Cam grimy for sleeping with his friend's woman, but the real question hung heavy in the air: what happens now? Would Jim finally walk away from Chrissy after more than 2 decades of a messy, on-and-off relationship? Or would Chrissy somehow find a way to win him back, even after this ultimate betrayal? Fans speculated endlessly, with some saying Jim would never forgive her, while others believed his history of always running back to Chrissy might mean one more reconciliation. Behind closed doors, Chrissy reportedly reached out to Jim, begging for a private conversation. Sources claimed she told him the situation with Cam happened years ago and that the child wasn't meant to be hidden. It was complicated, and she had her reasons. But Jim wasn't hearing it. His trust was shattered, his pride wounded, and his name dragged through the mud. The fallout also hit Dipset. Old tensions resurfaced as fans recalled the rift between Jim and Kim years ago, wondering if this scandal had roots going back decades. Was this revenge? Was it a twisted full circle moment where old wounds had resurfaced in the ugliest way possible? By the end of the week, headlines dominated every hip-hop blog. Jim Jones betrayed by Chrissy and Camron, DNA test confirms Camron's child with CHRISSY LAMPKIN, and Dipset drama explodes into courtroom scandal. TV shows picked it up, podcasts dissected it, and social media couldn't stop replaying Jim's outburst in court. And while the world laughed, speculated, and gossiped, Jim sat alone, facing the harsh truth. Sometimes loyalty means nothing when betrayal runs deep. And for Chrissy, the woman who fought for a wedding ring her whole life, the question wasn't about marriage anymore. It was whether she had lost Jim for good. The cameras may have stopped rolling, but the story was far from over. The DNA test may have confirmed everything, but it also opened doors to a future of tension, revenge, and unanswered questions that could haunt Jim, Chrissy, and Cam for years to come. Because in the world of hip-hop, secrets don't stay buried forever. They explode when you least expect them, leaving nothing but destruction in their wake. ChatGPT said, "If you've been locked into this roller coaster of betrayal, secrets, and jaw-dropping revelations, then you already know this story is far from over." Camron, Chrissy, and Jim Jones have shaken the entire hip-hop world with this DNA bombshell, and the fallout is only getting messier by the day. But trust me, this is just the beginning. More receipts, more leaks, and more explosive confrontations are on the horizon, and you do not want to miss what's about to come next. If you enjoyed today's breakdown, make sure you hit that like button so more people can see just how wild this saga has gotten. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Chrissy and Camron's secret has completely destroyed Jim Jones' loyalty, or is there a chance for forgiveness? I want to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe to Celebrity Trap with notifications turned on, because I'll be bringing you the next chapter of this drama the second it unfolds. This is the kind of chaos that rewrites history, and you know I'll have all the updates, receipts, and behind-the-scenes tea. Stay locked in, this storm is only getting started.